Live from MMA Fighting Studios, this is Between the Links. And now, your host, Mike Heck.
The iconic voice of Esterlin welcomes you to a brand new edition of BTL. Happy Thursday to us all. Thank you for being here. A lot going on. A lot of questions that need to be answered. It's UFC Kansas City Fight Week, but more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, it is KSW 105 Fight Week, and most important, it's Mariusz Pudzianowski versus Eddie Hall Fight Week. That fight coming up in around 48 hours time or so. We are excited. We hope you are as well, and we're going to discuss that and whatever the hell else you want to talk about. Special Q&A edition of the program, and joining me to answer what I assume will be brilliant questions from our great listeners is the hot take kid, Mr. No Gray Area, the climber of all climbers, the one and only Jed Meshew. Jed, the 2025 MMA fighting promotional draft is live for the world to see. How are we feeling about it?
I actually haven't looked at it this morning, so let me pull this up. It is live. We recorded yesterday. I teased that on Submission Radio that we had a couple things coming out. This is the first. We have another thing dropping tomorrow. That will be dropping on the YouTube channel and on the homepage as well. How's it going? Let's take a look at where we're at on the old voting in the poll. Obviously, I'm going to vote for myself. Let's take a gander. Wow, very competitive.
It is.
Easily the most competitive this has ever been.
100%.
Damon with a slight lead, but this is easily the most competitive. This is our fourth year doing it. Damon has taken a slight lead. But, I mean, everybody is within not that many votes of each other. Easily the most competitive one. And that feels right. Because as we were prepping, as we were doing it yesterday, it was just like, oh, the state of MMA. Kind of tough scenes right now.
Certainly is. I know AK is going to hate me saying this, but you should absolutely vote for Damon after this draft. He did GFL perfectly. If we're being honest, he actually... because he stuck with the GFL plan of what they're trying to accomplish, but he just did it way better than GFL actually did. And I think the first pick of the draft overall from him just set the table beautifully for the rest of it. I have to say, Jed, I think thus far, and I know we're just a couple of hours into it, I got to give myself a pat on the back. I think this is the best the UFC has done in one of these drafts 2.5 hours into the festivities. So happy people actually voted for me. But man, it's tough being the UFC and having that position because you're just playing defense. You're basically a goaltender the entire time.
It is. UFC is always the handicapped one. The first year we did it, we realized pretty early that was going to be the case because most people are going to steal UFC fighters. And every subsequent year, it is just the hardest seat to pick. You're picking last every round, and so that's also worse. And you're hemorrhaging talent. You did have the advantage this year of nobody really wants your champions right now. The UFC doesn't even really want your champions right now. There were, I think I don't remember if this was on the show or we did it after the show. I believe 4 sitting UFC champions were drafted, but that includes both John Jones and Tom Aspinall, and probably John's never fighting again. So like Magomedov Ankalaev, Merab, Bilal, Pantoja, none of the women champions, like just all your champions got to stay home. Volkanovski, all your champs got to stay home, which is certainly the first year that's ever happened. So you're very competitive. You're in second place right now. And as more votes come in, as long as I don't finish last, that would be terrific. And I am currently just ahead of AK with PFL.
Yes. It's a fun draft. Go listen to it, or you can read our thoughts. But I think you should probably listen to it and then go read the thoughts. I think that's probably the best way to go do it. So it's on the podcast network. The post is up on MMAfighting.com. It's a lot of fun. And speaking of lots of fun, no sleeves this week for E. Casey Leiden. He is joining us to bring the questions up to... There he is.
Right.
He changed.
Yeah, changed. It was too busy. I was like, I'm a little too busy. I keep it simple, you know. It's still early here, so maybe think
breakfast.
Positive thoughts. Yeah.
Man, I would absolutely destroy that meal on your shirt right now.
Absolutely.
I'm so hungry.
All right. Yes, we gotta eat. But you can.
I haven't eaten food
eat
today,
them-
and I hit the gym and ran a 5K, and I am famished right now. As soon as we are done, I'm going to get food.
Yes, I am doing the same. So we at least can be fed with questions, and we can feed the listeners with our knowledge, at least to the best of our ability, our takes. Casey, bring up the first question. Let's see what's on the people's minds right now.
What we got here? Mr. Josaboza.
Josaboza, what do Mike and Jed think of the rumors of DDP and his supposed injury? So I'll field this one first, and then you guys can kind of jump on in this. So if you watched any of the WrestleMania watch parties we did, this was something that came up, I believe Sunday we discussed this, because that's when everything started coming out. That's when sites were writing up reports from other people without actually confirming any information about this. So of course, when you see that happening, you have to get on the phone on fucking Easter Sunday to bug people about this situation. And everything we were told had nothing to do with any injuries or anything of that nature. It was just, and then let me just also say, it's hard to write news based off something that wasn't a thing, because the way it was written in certain websites was this fight that was supposedly set for this date is now being postponed. That fight was never announced. Not only was it never announced, it was never a thing. And now, am I saying that this fight was never brought up or ever discussed for this certain date? No, because I'm sure it was at some point. But this was not like a circled on fight for anybody. And the way it was kind of laid out was, cool, if you want to present this to us, like, we'll entertain this. But there was no official offer for this fight. There's certainly no contract signed for this fight. And from what I understood and what I talked about on the WrestleMania watch party was this wasn't really a thing. And from what I was told, there were no confirmation of any injury whatsoever from everybody that I talked to. The only thing I really got from this was DDP is going to fight this year. He's probably going to fight closer to the fall. That's all I got. And that's what I reported on the WrestleMania watch party. We did a subsequent thing on Monday, I believe, where DDP did the response to Khamzat Chimaev. What was overlooked in that article was me saying exactly that. So there was no confirmation of any sort of injury. DDP sort of laid out that the reports are a bunch of bullshit and that, hey, I'm going to fight. Just why are we talking about canceling or postponing a fight that never was? It was never set for that date. So, and that was our kind of conundrum on Sunday, is like, do we even write this up? Because how can you write news about something that there was actually no news about? So that's where I'm coming from. That's the journalistic side of things. I expect DDP and Khamzat Chimaev to fight in the fall based on what I've talked to, but could they still, just to fill up International Fight Week, because I'm sure we're going to get a shitload of questions about that. Could Khamzat fight somebody else for an interim belt? We'll see. But yeah, from what I was told, this was never really a thing. This was discussed a couple of times. There was no fight offers. There was no contracts, none of that. And just basically read what DDP wrote on Instagram today. That's about the long and the short of it. But Jed, your thoughts on DDP and returning in the fall? And sometimes the media can be the worst enemy in all of this and just send things going crazy to the point where even fighters are commenting on things and they're putting social media posts out there about things that just aren't really a thing, if we're being honest.
I mean, the lesson, Mike, as always, don't believe anything until you see it on MMAfighting.com. Not myself, but you guys do great journalistic work about verifying things before we just say shit. I think this is fine. Like, it made sense for DDP Khamzat to take place in International Fight Week, but if there are reasons for it to not, even if those reasons are just, I don't want to, I already defended my belt once this year. I'd like to do it in the fall and have fun this summer, or whatever the reason is. Like, that's a perfect.
Maybe they're going to South Africa. Maybe they're going to South Africa. Who the hell knows?
Probably unlikely, but would be cool.
Probably.
Like, it would certainly be cool. It's unlikely, but there's whatever the reason is, like, that fight was just us saying, "Oh, it would make a lot of sense as we're looking for a main event for International Fight Week. It's very international. It's a great fight, big star power. Like, why wouldn't that make sense?" But nothing was ever booked. So there's like, this is kind of much ado about nothing, but there's so much ado about the nothing that it became something, with like just the sort of transparent nonsense from the fighters too, of like, we'll fight for an interim belt because we only know how to do three things in this sport, and it's demand a title fight or move up a weight class. Like, those are the only things as fighters we can do
And ask for a
anymore because our
bonus.
brains got broken, and ask for a bonus. Exactly. So it's just like, it became this whole thing. Honestly, I pitched this yesterday on Submission Radio, and I think that it would be better if Dricus was actually hurt, because then you could solve all the problems that the UFC currently has. Because if Dricus is hurt, if Bilal beats Jack Della at 315 in 2 weeks or whenever that is, he could just come out and be like, "Hey, I've been trying to fight Hamzat for years. I'll go up. I'll fight him for an interim belt. I'll leave my belt. Islam can fight whoever, Shavkat or whoever it is you pick at welterweight for the welterweight belt. And then Ilia can fight Charles for the lightweight belt." And that sort of ladder progression solves everything. DDP not being injured and ostensibly intending to defend his belt in the fall probably invalidates that, although not necessarily. I'm old enough to remember when they gave Colby Covington an interim title shot, and Tyron Woodley defended his belt like 3 months later. So I guess it could still happen. This is, again, as we said at the start, don't trust any of this nonsense unless you see it on MMAfighting.com, because we're good at our jobs. Or y'all are. That's not really my job.
Yeah. So there you are. There you have it. That's that.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Boza.
Thanks.
Super chats. $10 super chat from Matthew.
Shout out Matthew. With the UFC being a free speech company, allowing Bryce to say Hitler shiz, how do you feel about them censoring Amanda's Bernie Sanders hat during her Hall of Fame induction video package at UFC 314?
So the tough scenes, as the chat pointed out to Matthew, unless he's talking about something that I don't know, it wasn't a Bernie hat. It was a Balenciaga hat that they taped over.
Yeah.
Which I'm still not really sure why they taped over a Balenciaga
They didn't tape over
hat.
it. That's just the style. That's just the design of it.
Oh, is it?
Just Google.
That's just the design of the Balenciaga hat?
Yeah. Google
that's
Balenciaga, whatever. Say cap and tape, and you'll see a bunch of stuff on it from the official site.
I'm going to Google it now. Oh my God, it is. Also, it does in fact look like the Bernie logo, except for the fact that it ends with an A. You know, obviously Bernie Sanders does not end with an A. So like, that does kind of look like the Bernie logo that's taped over. Look, man, this old boomer take here. I don't get it. Wouldn't be my choice of attire for $400, but whatever makes you happy, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't buy pre-ripped. I don't buy pre-ripped jeans either. It's a very old man take of me. That is baffling that is like how the hat comes to me, but I'm not the most fashionable guy. So, okay.
Yeah. So,
so the tape is just like, I don't support this person. Okay. Or is that?
No, it is
the
Bernie style of a Balenciaga hat.
Oh, okay. Fair. All right.
Like, that's just it.
That's just
the Balenciaga tape hat costs $600.
All right.
On this one particular website.
All right.
Okay.
Well, there you have it. Appreciate that.
Man.
Thank you, Casey. I had no idea.
We should really get merch. If you could be charging $600 for a hat that you don't even know what it is because it's taped over, man, we could be making a killing.
Yeah. I don't even have an MMA fighting t-shirt yet, but that's a conversation for another day. But thank you, Matthew.
There was a little sadness when you said that. You didn't just say it. I felt there was a little.
My kids got one. They just didn't have anything like adult large size, so or XL. So that knocks me right out. Unless I want to wear like a Stevie Richards belly shirt, but I'm not going to do that. So yeah,
you've been working
damn it,
out.
Habib.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. Sorry we couldn't. It's not a Bernie Sanders hat.
I do
Thank
get how
much.
you could think that though. It does legit like the B
does
looks
look
like
like
an
it.
Ernie logo B.
Yeah. But if they're gonna tape over, they're gonna tape over. They're not gonna half tape over it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Also fair.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. Super chat from Slito.
Cito, how can anyone justify what John is doing to Tom, purposefully wasting his prime when he has no intention to fight and the UFC is just letting it happen? How about you want to talk about great journalism, Joe? Is there a better journalist in the sport right now than Sean? Jesus Christ, man. Talk
Look,
about a guy who has lit this whole thing on fire in 2 days between saying, hey, guys, I'm obviously on the inside. Not only is John Jones versus Tom Aspinall like agreed to happen, but they've agreed down to the date. And then 12 hours later, he's like, okay, this isn't happening. Tom's fighting Cyril Gahn for an interim belt. What the frig is going on here? And people eat this stuff up, man. They run with it like it's a thing. Because I saw it on social media. People were like, well, Chael said that John and Tom are fighting, so get excited. And now he's saying he's fighting Cyril Gahn. So that, Jed, just responds to that. And then just this whole John Tom thing, since we're talking about this again.
in the very, very small amount of credit I will give, Chael did retract his statement functionally. Like, this was just wrong. So, that is at least good practice.
That's true.
The problem being, like, I don't know that Chael even believed it when he said it, because he knew, like, I can get headlines and people will click and pay attention to this statement. And then I can retract it a day later and get double the headlines. Like, it is, again, the number of things Chael has said over the years that are just like not true really beggars belief why like people listen to that and adhere to it with any sort of sense or knowledge. Like, Chael just said stuff because Chael is a talking head, and Chael does not seem to have any qualms about stretching the truth in his like role as a media member. Like, I'll say stuff, but I don't just like come on here and be like, hey guys, I heard from a friend of a friend that this is happening. Chael doesn't seem to care about doing it. And sometimes he has been correct, but he has also often been incorrect or had to do this and retract almost immediately. Again, if it's not on our website and us saying it, not like Chael Sonnen says, because we will cover that because people want to know, it's just not true. And this fight's not going to happen. And Slito, to answer your question, I think you can justify it in two ways. One, you don't believe John is intentionally wasting Tom Aspinall's time. You believe that, you are one of that group of fans who think that there's a real chance that this fight happens and John is just negotiating. And so, okay, he doesn't have a responsibility to Tom in that regard. And so that's two. Or, and this is the way that I get less mad about it, though I do think that this is kind of booty, what's happening. Heavyweight is awful. And so while we kind of are wasting Tom Aspinall's prime, like, if Tom fought as frequently as he wanted to, he would have beaten all the heavyweights already. And then what will we do? We'll just sit there and watch him like run it back 4 times. I don't know. It's a very silly situation. I desperately hope that this summer it will come to an end one way or the other. Obviously, it would be cool if they fought. I do not think that's going to happen. I hope the UFC just strips John or he vacates and we can move on with our lives. Same way we should have done 18 months ago.
Yeah, this is Habib retiring all over again. This is just holding out whatever glimmer of hope is remaining. And because, again, I mean, I heard Ariel talk about this in a social clip that I saw. He's essentially saying, like, look, I know everyone's talking about, well, John wants this and he wants FU money and wants certain demands and all of that nature. And what Ariel has been reporting, and we haven't since confirmed this, but look, Ariel's not with us anymore, but Ariel's a very trusted source in this industry, much more than Chael P, if we're being honest. So I feel this is something we could talk about. He's basically saying that if this fight doesn't happen, it's not because of the UFC. It's not a whole UFC has not offered John a bag or a more significant bag than he would offer most. The way that Ariel's laying it out is that the reason this fight is not happening is because of John Jones. The UFC, at least from what he was told in the conversations he's had, is the UFC has met or at least fairly come close to what John is offering. Tom has asked for certain things as well, and apparently they have given him close to what he wants as well. So it looks like they are putting forth the effort in order to make this fight happen. But as Jed and I have said, sure, there was, jokes of ducking, and Jed started a trend and started a worldwide movement that chickens can't be goats and all that. And boy, did that thing catch on. But at the same token, one thing Jed and I have been very consistent about, we do not blame John Jones for this at all. Like, John should be a prize fighter. He should have went for the Alex Pereira fight. He should have pushed for all of this. It's not the fight we all wanted, but at the tail end of his career, the man is trying to make as much money as possible. And the definition, at least to me, of being a prize fighter is get the biggest name with the least amount of risk that can make the most amount of money. And for John Jones, Alex Pereira was the guy. Not sure if that's still true after the Magomed Ankalaev loss, but that would still be a very, very big fight if it were to happen. Not as big as it was maybe 6 months ago, but let's just be done with it. Like, let's make a decision. It's the one thing I will blame the UFC on is they have not set their own deadline yet. And we need to sort of figure out this division. What is Tom going to do? This man should not have another interim title defense. So if he is going to fight Ciryl Gane, it should be for the belt. Like, Tom should be the champion the second that fight begins. So I don't know. It's all silly. And if the UFC can pull this rabbit out of their hat, I will put them over forever. But I just don't see a world where this happens.
I still blame the UFC. I am not privy to whatever knowledge Errol has. And I'm not here to say that it's like he has no part in this, because John does. Like you can basically just ask for an unreasonable price and negotiate yourself out of the fight. But at a very baseline level, John doesn't want to take this fight. I don't think that's in dispute. Like, John does not want to fight Tom Aspinall. You have to incentivize him in the same way that I don't want to, I was going to say do my job, but I actually love my job. But like, I don't want to go eat a pile of shit. But there is a price at which I would eat a pile of shit. And that's the situation. And it's not on John to be like, hey, I know you guys really want to see me eat this pile of shit, but I have no interest in doing that. It's on the people who are the promoters to incentivize him to do so. And so, unless he is asking for something so outlandish, $1 billion and a 10% ownership stake in the UFC, I am not going to blame him. And at that point, I still wouldn't blame him for not taking the fight. I would blame him exclusively for wasting our time. Because at that point, you could just say, I don't want to do it. I'm retired. It's on the UFC to make him an offer he can't refuse. At least thus far, they have yet to do that. They need to strip him, and we need to be done with this. It has been entirely too long to be beholden to John Jones for whatever reason we are. Let's move on. And if he does ultimately decide whatever the offer they did extend is worth it, then we can revisit it. But we just need to be done with this.
I blame the UFC. Moving on. And John. All right. Super chat from Super Simi Noob. 70 Zars. Whoa.
It's a lot of coffee. I saw Overeem at the zoo recently. I didn't want to bother him, so I kept to myself. But his presence was imposing. He's really lean now, but still massive. Have you seen any MMA fighters in the wild?
I mean, that kind of, not like out and about in life. Like, I've seen them at the gym or I've seen them at events, but not like just going around my day to day and being like, oh, I know that fighter from X, Y, or Z.
I saw years ago when I was in South Florida, I saw Nick Lentz at the mall.
Mm.
Oh, okay. Good. Great name drop.
The Carney,
just walking around. And then maybe a year ago, I saw Brian Ortega at the mall with his ex girlfriend, Tracy Cortez. So I've seen him everywhere. And a couple years ago, I was down at Santa Monica Mall, and I saw Gegard Mousasi just walking around with his brother.
Oh man,
that
was that a big day for you?
That was a really big day. We actually
You're a gay guy.
We locked eyes and we did lock eyes. We had a conversation. The other two guys, I just kind of let them go on, but Gay Guard, I was like, oh my god.
Sir, did you tell him you were single-handedly responsible for him being like a top 4 ranked middleweight for like a year after he probably should have just been out of the rankings entirely? It's been like, hey, you don't know this, but I have you ranked number 3 when everybody else has you like 10.
Unranked.
Yeah, I told him he's not in the UFC. He doesn't. Yeah, he
doesn't count.
Exist. You don't. Yeah.
Did you guys talk about Alexander Shabley over some Orange Julius?
No.
In his greatness.
Oh man, Orange Julius. I haven't had an Orange Julius.
I'm not bringing it up. You guys brought it.
I'm just joking. It's just something that's
yeah. It's just.
But I'm glad I brought it up because now I appreciate it more. It's not stewing inside of me anymore. I let it out and now I think it's funny and we can I get it and I respect it.
Did you go to the comment section at all on the video?
Briefly I did. I did.
It was
you had some supporters.
There's a lot of support. There was a lot of support. So that's all. Thank you for all the super chats. Who else have I seen out in the wild? I ran into Tyron Woodley a few years back at he was outside of a laundromat, but on the phone call. He wasn't there. He was just on a phone call. Who else? I think if I'd run.
Man, you've seen a lot of fighters in the wild. I never see them.
I mean, I live in LA. You know, it's just. I guess
it's true.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna.
The ones I
the
ones I see, I don't see in the wild.
Yeah.
They're also like Atlanta people. And I'll see them like at the gym. So that doesn't count.
Thank you, Super Noob. All right, what else we got here? No, I'm done talking about John Jones. Is this a thing?
Have you heard anything on a rumored Sean O'Malley injury? So I think this comes from like a Snapchat with him on crutches or something. I don't have a Snapchat, so I don't know, but that's just kind of what I've been seeing on social media. So I've heard nothing, and you would think if there is an injury, we're a month away from that card. The UFC is going to have to, say something pretty quick because that fight card is in a month.
Yeah, I've just seen that it's a rumor. I would give it 0 credence, both because like outside of it could just be patently false. It could be an intentional thing from O'Malley too, to be like, oh, look, I'm injured, boss. He's like weird like that. Just, I've heard nothing substantive about it. So I'm operating as if it's not true.
Wait a minute. So wasn't his injury, didn't he have like a hip injury before the first fight?
I believe he tore a labrum in his hip.
Yeah. That's what he said.
Tore somebody's hip. So would that put somebody on crutches? Is that just him posting an old photo of him on crutches, perhaps?
Recovery might put you on crutches. I could see it. It could be that. Like, it could just be him messing around. I have no idea.
Yeah.
To the best of our knowledge,
and
to the best of everything I've heard from him, he is in great shape and ready to go.
So, yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, with Matt Schnell and Jimmy Flick both coming out of retirement for their matchup and intending to re-retire after, what exactly are the stakes here?
Are they both coming out of retirement? Is this true?
Flick's been out of retirement.
I knew Schnell was, but Flick's been out, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I knew Schnell had his baby retirement. It doesn't even count as retirement. He retired 5 months ago or whatever.
He retired after the... Oh, who did he lose to? Oh,
he fought in September.
Yeah, that was the damn draft.
He did retire.
Yeah. Alessandro Costa got hurt like 3 days before that fight, and somebody stepped in and finished him.
Cody Durden, Atlanta's own, baby.
Cody Durden, yes.
Which I think he's not from Atlanta, but he's from Georgia.
And both are saying they're going to re-retire. I mean, Schnell, I'm not surprised.
I haven't heard them both say they're going to re-retire, but okay.
But Flick, I don't know, man. Flick was on like a good run, and then he was just like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah,
just showed up at a regional show and retired. I was like, what?
That's weird.
What the hell? Yeah, and then he comes, then he just randomly comes back.
Coincidentally, I did not realize this until this exact moment looking this up. Do you know who Flick retired after beating? Cody Durden. Cody Durden retired both of these men.
Whoa.
In different
Did
ways.
not realize this until I looked at it. I was like, who was that? Oh, he triangle choked Cody Durden and then was like, I'm done. And then came back 3 years later.
I think that was.
That's weird as
it's not
shit.
to the level of Cejudo. It's not to the level of Cejudo retiring, but boy, man, that was a super weird retirement. That just like came out of nowhere. He was cruising, man. The UFC was pushing him. They were giving him a lot of fights. They were putting him over. There were highlight packages for Jimmy Flick before all of his fights because he had like such a great Contender Series fight. And then he has his UFC debut. He freaking flying triangles the dude, and he's like, "All right, I'm out." What? It was so weird. And then he comes back 3 years later and loses to Charles Johnson. So, yeah. Bizarre. Yeah. What a weird career for Jimmy Flick.
Yeah, it sounds like just life got in the way, that he couldn't just commit to it, and then life got normal again or whatever. And yeah.
Well, we broke that news that he was coming back, and then we did the first interview with him after coming back, which was like a very emotional interview because he was talking about his dad and basically like rekindling his relationship with his dad.
It was a thing, yeah.
And
I remember.
That sort of inspired him to come back, and I think his dad actually cornered him in his comeback fight, which was, and he said he's going to write a book and talk about the trials and tribulations of his life. So, yeah, it was just a crazy story. So we wish them both the best of luck in the fight and in their futures if they decide to call it a career.
But to answer the question, what exactly is at stake? I just think someone getting 2 checks versus
loser
one
leave
check.
town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty much. Because they're not fighting. Oh, yeah, they are fighting each other. Shit.
Yeah.
But they're fighting 2 different dudes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny, too.
Hey, but just
guys
like Kansas City, this is a social media moment for the UFC. For the second straight trip to Kansas City, a double retirement. Because didn't that happen with Zach Cummings and Ed Herman?
Oh, yeah,
they fought.
It did. I was
they
there
both
for
retired
that.
after.
But they didn't plan it, but it just happened. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to be done. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So get your before and after graphics ready of the double retirements because it's going to be a thing potentially.
It's very pro
I forgot
wrestling.
that entirely.
Like loser leaves town, loser retires.
Yeah, I love
Kansas
that.
City just makes people want to be done. Anthony Smith's retiring. Something about the state of Missouri that's like, we got to get out of here.
Oh man, yeah, lots of retirements happening.
My sister lives in Kansas City. Don't come for me, Midwesterners.
Yeah, I saw a wrestling
lovely
match.
town. It's a lovely town.
I saw a wrestling match where last weekend, where at GCW, where it was loser retires, and he's versus a lucha guy, and the lucha wrestler, if he loses, he had to unmask himself. So the lucha guy lost, and he unmasked himself, and it turns out he was very handsome. And then the whole crowd chanted, "You look good. You look good."
That's so fun.
So get with it, MMA. Yeah. Thank you, Lazy. Let's talk more about this weekend.
Well, the UFC put Anthony Smith in the Hall of Fame after his KFC fight. KC fight.
KFC fight. Nice.
Are we saying is this question saying immediately? Hey, by the way, Anthony, we got something just for you. And because they're going to play sort of video package for him.
They're going to give him a video package.
I don't think they're going to just
he's never going in the Hall of Fame.
Throw him a Hall of Fame nod. Really? You don't think he will?
Not at all. He doesn't have any fights that are really worth it. He never was a champion. There are like 3 non-champions in the UFC Hall of Fame. And it's like Donald Cerrone, who had a bunch of records when he retired, although he's coming back or whatever, but like, had all that. Stephan Bonner, who is just, he's in for the one reason he's in the Hall of Fame for. I'm trying to think like who, and Uriah Faber, who's never a UFC champion, but was a WEC champion. I think that is the full list of people in the Hall of Fame outside of getting in for a fight that aren't champions. Anthony Smith's not making it in the Hall of Fame. And frankly, he shouldn't. Great career, rock solid. Every sport has dudes like Anthony Smith who had good careers, were meaningful participants in the sport. They contribute to the broad tapestry of MMA, but they're just not Hall of Famers. And Anthony Smith ain't one of them.
I'm not ruling it out. I don't think he gets in like tomorrow or Saturday, but it would
Like
not shock me if like 3 years from now.
Fourth ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I mean, this is not like, we have to remember what this is. All right. This is just like, hey, these are, I mean, obviously there's great fighters in there, but it's also, hey, we really like this person and he's done a lot for us. So let's just throw him in the Hall of Fame. Who cares? That could happen.
Technically, Vanderlei Silva also qualifies because he was not a UFC champion, but he was a Pride champion. I'll be pretty surprised if Anthony Smith gets in, unless like in 20 years he gets in as a total contributor because he's a commentator. Like he gets into commentary and on the analyst desk for 20 years. Like if we're putting Anthony Smith in the Hall of Fame is meaningless. Like he's just not a good guy, solid career. He is not a Hall of Famer by any reasonable definition of it.
Yeah, it's like someone in Major Leagues making the All-Star team 3 times, but over 15 years, I guess.
Yeah.
Like if he
I wouldn't put him in, but I would not be surprised if the UFC did. So I'm not gonna rule it out.
Yeah, like
I'm trying to think of like another.
If he fought for a team, they would retire his number for that team.
Yeah,
that type of thing.
It's like
I'm not even sure that's true.
Well, I mean, it's like
he might get inducted into the Ring of Honor or whatever. Like, here's a guy who meant a lot to our thing, but I just
you can't compare the UFC Hall of Fame to the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Well,
you can compare it to the WWE Hall of Fame. Like that's honestly the only thing you can compare it to because they basically.
I have no knowledge of that at all.
I don't think you'll get.
They essentially, because I mean, like Michelle McCool is in the WWE Hall of Fame. Fine wrestler, I guess, but come on, we know why she's in because she's Undertaker's wife.
Never,
probably, but it was at a time where women's wrestling was not treated with the same regard that it is today.
In the States,
so. Yeah, like we don't look at, there are others who should be in before her. Having said that, Dominic Cruz should go in well before Anthony Smith goes in. But what I'm saying is,
that's unquestionable.
What I'm saying is, this is not an overall merit-based Hall of Fame. This is not the Mixed Martial Arts Federation of the World Hall of Fame. This is the UFC Hall of Fame, and they could put in anybody they want. WWE, Triple H put himself in to headline WrestleMania. And
Deeply
made the
funny.
Weekend mostly about him. Very funny.
Deeply funny.
Very funny.
He did also, I know nothing about wrestling, and I know that Triple H deserves to be in their Hall of Fame.
Right.
If it happens, I will laugh and think it's terrible. Like, I'm trying to think of like a comp in another sport that it would roughly be like, just that everybody would look like broadly know. Just like trying to think of like who's a football player who, because like I want to be like Phillip Rivers, but Phillip Rivers is a much better career than Anthony Smith had. So like you can't really, that doesn't really work as a comp. Like Derek Carr, if Derek Carr got inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, like that to me is what Anthony Smith. This is not to disrespect Anthony Smith. If it happens, we could talk about it. I think it'll be really, really wild. It's like, what fight could he even get in for?
He gets in because he let John Jones become champion. It was his to have.
That's probably the answer.
Honestly,
his generosity and martial artsness allowed John Jones.
Bushido spirit.
The Bushido spirit.
That's what we call it.
But
in
also,
the UFC
I think
Hall of Fame.
You know, I think one of the most memorable performances is the Hector Lombard fight. Because he kind of beat the hell out of him that night and was like talking shit to him the whole time. And was just like, you know my name now, Hector? Huh? You know my name now? That was fun.
I think that does raise a totally separate issue that I would like to officially lobby for here for the first time. I think the first time I've ever done this on camera. UFC, I'd like you to pay attention to me for a brief moment. Broadly speaking, I have no issues with the Hall of Fame. Like we could quibble about who's in or whatever, but I think you're mostly doing things right. You're missing a massive piece to it, and it's this. Yes, fights should be inducted. individual performances or finishes, knockouts, submissions should have their own wing the same way fights do, because there's no reason that Cub Swanson Duho Choi is in the UFC Hall of Fame and Gabe Gonzaga's head kick of Mirko Krokop is not. That the flying mighty whiz bar from Demetrius Johnson is not in the Hall of Fame. That the Hendo punch on Michael Bisping, you 100% need to every year induct a fight and induct a performance finish, however you want to qualify it, because there are so many amazing ones that in your Hall of Fame are basically just treated as nothing. Like Yair Rodriguez's literal last second back up elbow against Korean Zombie. Like, how is that not Hall of Fame worthy? It's amazing. So many of these things should be, and you guys really, it's a huge oversight for you. You should fix that.
I love this idea. Holly Holmes head kick of Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
Leon Edwards head kick.
That could be the first one. That could be the first one you put in.
Yeah. I love
like
this.
There are just
like
so many individual
swing.
moments, like knockouts, and they award fight of the night and performance. Why would you not treat that the same and just do fights that we remember? Because frankly, fights we remember are great. People remember the individual spots even more than they remember great fights. Like the Diego Sanchez fight that's in the Hall of Fame. Like, some people remember that, and the fight is terrific. I'm not here to say it's not, but like, there's not a human being alive who doesn't remember Leon Edwards' head kick of Kamaru Usman. Like, those things need to be honored, and you guys should do that immediately.
I love this. I love this idea. Well done.
Thanks. Okay. I've been thinking about that one for a hot minute.
Hey, we could just do that for ourselves.
We could.
MMA Fighting Moments Hall of Fame. And then UFC will just take it, but at least we could do it
that
first.
We can contribute.
Is Julia Pena a Hall of Famer? Real quick.
She will be.
She will be, yeah. Okay.
Two-time champion.
She's a two-time champion. She's going in.
Okay.
If you're a two-time champion, you're just like, that's a free pass.
Yeah.
Right.
We could debate if that is how it should be, but it is 100% going to happen.
Yep.
All right. Super chat. Ooh, $20 super chat. Ah, so much iced coffee.
I know. Tanvir, my man. Might be an unpopular opinion. It's not, by the way. I've actually been enjoying the PFL tournament. The Edwards-Rabadonov finishes were great. Between the Usman-Hughes fight and the tournament, is PFL low-key having a solid 2025. So, yes, all three of these tournament cards have been great. Like, they really have been fun watches. I finally went back and watched the second one. It was good, probably like 6 days after. It was a good one. Just not anything
Main
I would
event
ever
was
watch
bad.
live.
Main event was bad, but the rest of that card was quite good.
Yeah, and last week's card was very good too. Moved good. There were a lot of big finishes, a lot of big moments. Pacing doesn't seem to be a problem anymore. We were wrapped and packed by like before 10 o'clock last week, if memory serves you correctly, which is awesome. That's how it should be with all of these PFL cards. But Jed, how would you grade PFL's 2025 so far? We started with Usman Hughes, which is one of the best fights of the year, certainly. But we also have to take into account, yes, events are great. And the ratings, from what I understand, have not been that spectacular, but that's okay. We didn't expect them to be. But been kind of a PR nightmare for PFL as well. So we have to take that into account. So how do we grade 2025 for PFL thus far?
It's a C. I want to make sure we give them credit for the good things because they deserve that. And we have asked them to do these things for a long time. And they are doing a lot of the things we have called for, right? Like they got rid of the season format, swapped to a traditional tournament Grand Prix structure, paying dividends already. It's better. Everybody is on board that this is better, right? The pacing absolutely has picked up. I personally thought that the Smart Cage stuff was very silly and fun. Nobody else really liked it. They have mostly stripped that out of the broadcast to make it a cleaner, better looking thing. All of this deserves credit. Their events have been better. Legitimately, the tournament series has been good. I have enjoyed the ones they have watched, but the problem is when you are number 2, you can't be good. You have to be great because you are fighting in massively uphill battle and you can't have the foibles and the missteps they've had. And there are two really, really big problems with PFL right now. The first, they are a PR nightmare this year. All of the actual best fighters they have under contract are in quiet or open revolt because of how they have been treated. And instead of solving these problems quietly or publicly in a clean way of, hey, you guys don't want to be here? That's okay. Aaron Pico didn't want to be here. We let him go. You just contact us. Let us know you don't want to be here. We'll release you. Don Davis is out here tweeting about people fighting with their we want people who want opportunities or whatever the dumb shit he said. It has been a PR disaster for them. That is a huge negative, especially when like the reason Bellator existed for as long as it did, like one of the very biggest reasons is they were fighter friendly. Fighters wanted to compete there because they got paid well. They knew they were going to compete once to twice a year, and they weren't dragged in public. None of this is really lining up for PFL. That's really bad for them long term. Short term and long term, the other part of this that has been a total nightmare, I don't know why I have to explain this to you, PFL, and I mean this. You understand that this comes from a place of love, that I want you to succeed. This should be common sense. This should not take me telling you that you're being idiots. You cannot run your promotion at different times and different days week over week. That is not how you build consistency in a brand. CBS doesn't run Survivor on Tuesdays at 10, and then next week it's Wednesday at 3, and then the week after it's Friday at 2. It runs Survivor every fucking Thursday at 8 p.m. That is how that show has existed for 50 seasons. You cannot, this week we are, especially when you're doing it in the same venue in Florida, and that's a whole separate issue. This week, it's Thursday, it starts at 9. And next week, it's Friday, and the main card starts at 11. And the week after, it's Friday, and it starts at 6. That is killing you, because consistency is the only thing you have to hang your hat on. Because it damn sure ain't promotion. Nobody's tuning in. No one knows it's happening until it is happening. I don't care what you have to do. Beg, borrow, steal. You get a time slot and you live in that fucking time slot for every event of your whole season. This is genuinely common sense that a third grader would have. And the fact that y'all aren't doing it is brutal. It is so bad for you. And then we could talk a whole host of other stuff. But like those are the biggest issues that they are having. And so I want to give you credit for your positives, because you are making progress in some areas. But like these are just easy to avoid missteps that you are walking headlong into, and it's killing you this year.
It's a C+. It's a C+. The events have been great. As a promotion, they've been awful. Like they have been awful. The fighters have been fantastic. But as a promotion, they've been awful. They have, like, it took Dakota Ditcheva to do an interview with Mike Bond for them to be like, oh shit, we need to book Dakota Ditcheva a fight. That's insane. Like, that is ridiculous. And then they go on the broadcast and Dakota's like, well, turns out now I can be happy. And because I'm fighting in June. By the way,
that's still insane. Why is she fighting in June?
No fight being announced.
Have her fight anyone. Have her fight literally any standing human being. Dakota Ditcheva is one of the good things you have going. You don't need to have her do big fights. Take a lesson from Pride. Pride did many bad things promotionally. Namely, they got in bed with the Yakuza. And that was probably really bad for them, and sort of the way they handled it. You don't have to do that. But like, okay, there's not an obvious Fedor fight. We will book him against Zuluzinho. Who gives a shit? People just want to watch Fedor do stuff, and he can beat the shit out of some dude. Like, you can just do that. It is, outside of the two things I mentioned to you as huge problems, if I could give you one piece of advice, PFL, and I genuinely almost did a whole video on this week or last week because we had nothing going on. I was furious. I've been trying to learn about pro wrestling, guys. You're trying to indoctrinate me, and I don't think it's ticking, but I do find the subject matter really fascinating. Right. And there's some interview with the dude who ran the WCW when they were fighting. Yes, that guy. And he was talking about like his approach to it was, I'm just going to do everything different than what they're doing because I don't want to just be bad version of them. So they have a tape show. I'm going to go live. Like that's what you should be doing. You should be, you can't just be bad UFC. And so UFC doesn't do tournaments. We do tournaments. UFC does 20 shows a year in the Apex. We're not going to do all our shows in a small gymnasium in Universal Studios, Florida. We're going to do our shows in a place with an active live crowd, right? Like, oh, UFC doesn't allow soccer kicks or however you like, because one championship got to bring their rule set. Oh, they can't do that. We're going to do this. Take those pieces of things that the UFC can't or won't do and make them features of your promotion as another reason for people to be interested in you. And you're not doing that. Like, oh, the UFC doesn't, you know what the UFC doesn't have right now? A compelling female fighter. You have one and she's not fucking fighting. Like, I don't get what we're doing. This is not hard.
She's going to be in the UFC by this time next year anyway. So at least, I mean, I don't know what her contract situation looks like, but I know she's there for another year because she won the tournament last year and that's kind of how it's laid out. But she's obviously not in this tournament. By the way, shout out to Don Davis.
No.
Read our draft.
Breaking news.
Right here.
Oh,
there it is. Loves the mock draft. Nice job by AK. Doesn't like the Ruger.
Breaking news.
And yeah, we picked Paul Hughes, Cedric Doumbé, and Dakota Ditcheva. It's a pretty significant name he's missing from that list.
Francis
Maybe,
Ngannou.
the face of their company. So
Who's
interesting
also a
to
first-round
be
pick.
left out.
Or was Ngannou a second-round pick? He might have been a second-rounder. I think he was.
So there you go.
But hey, look,
Shout out.
year 4.
Dakota Ditcheva is, yeah. Dakota Ditcheva is, she's a star, man. Like she can be a massive star in this sport. She's got it all, man. She's got it all. And at this point, retain her services, just prize fight her the shit out of her. Just pay her a bunch of money to fight anybody and just do it. Make her an attraction at this point. And if you do a champion series card or whatever, like chuck her on there, man. Like have her fight in February and then do the championship series in June and then have her fight again in August in a squash match. And then if you do a card in October in Saudi, throw her on there. Like you could book her 4 fights a year very easily.
Book her 4 fights and advertise her as like the wealthiest female MMA prize fighter. Like she is like, I don't know, something like something edge. Like she's like, I may not be fighting the best, but I'm making bank, So I don't know, something.
I don't think you should say I'm not fighting the best. I don't think that should be your way. But like, look,
I mean, she
say it, but everyone knows,
I don't want to tease a thing that's dropping tomorrow. Look, there's just, you can just have fun with Dakota Ditcheva, right? Like the reason Pride stars were as big as they were more pro wrestling about it. It wasn't, we are just going to match up. You are not the UFC where you have all the talent in the world. And so you can just smash the best dudes against each other and see the cream that rises to the top. You've got a set number of stars. You need to develop them the way pro wrestling does. Enhancement talent is a useful thing to have. And so you don't want to exclusively do that, right? You don't want to have Dakota Ditcheva only fight cans, but like mixing in some cans and then good fights. That's how Fedor, fought Zuluzinho and then fought Krokop. Actually, I think that was actually inverted, but like Krokop head kicked Dos Caras Jr., aka Alberto Del Rio, and then fought Big Nog. Like you can do these things with her, and there's no reason she is not fighting 3 times a year, and not always against the best people. Just like somebody who can sell the fight for any number of reasons. Get her in there, let her showcase what she can do, let people get excited about her, and then there's a big fight against Liz Carmouche or whatever it is. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just got to actually execute pretty obvious plays here.
PFL needs to change the F in PFL to fun. Professional fun.
I have argued for at least 6 months to hire me as Minister of Fun. And I promise you I will make that promotion something people care about.
Yep. They were like, you know what that we should do instead? Let's hire Jonathan Coachman to be the face of the organization. Let's take Don Davis completely out of it. Let's bring in Coach, who, shout out to Coach, dude's hustling out there. But I don't understand the moves they're making. I really don't. By the way, Gadzi Rabadanov also not mentioned in that tweet.
Gadzi was not.
No Gadzi.
You are 100%
no Gadzi either.
Right. I forgot about Gadzi too, though. So, and great fighter. He's a great fighter.
Dude, have a little fun. Like, KSW isn't doing Eddie Hall versus Mariusz Pudzianowski every card, but they're doing it once in a while. And that's okay. Because what they're doing is they're putting it in a spot.
And not PFL is a travesty. PFL should have paid the
by the
price
way,
for the fight.
By the way, I talked to their CEO today. I talked to Martin Lewandowski today for a little bit about this fight and putting it all together, which is awesome. And I put him over as the booker of the year. I think it's over and done with. He should win immediately. The second that fight begins, he should win. So Fighters Only Awards, Booker of the Year. It's not Dana White. It is that man, 100%. From what I understand, a little bit of news. That is not the last we're going to see of Eddie Hall fighting for KSW. Just something to put out there.
Lewandowski is really good at his job.
He is very good at his job. He understands.
Extremely good at his job.
He gets it. And I also brought up the 3-step plan here. 1 is signing Eddie Hall. 2 is doing Eddie Hall versus Puig. And 3 is you do the winner of this fight versus Francis in a cross-promotional fight with PFL. Because even though Francis would probably kill either one of them, you could still have fun with it. And exactly. And of the actual fights, realistically, that Francis Ngannou could have right this second, there is nothing bigger than him fighting Puig or Eddie Hall right now. It ain't Vadim Nemkov, tell you that. It's not Ryan Bader. He ain't fighting John Jones. He ain't fighting Tom Aspinall. He has no options right now. He truly doesn't. That's like big, and it's like, oh, we have to spend $50 to buy this pay-per-view. But you know what? If you fought Pudzianowski or Eddie Hall, people are spending $50. I know I am. They got my money. So Martin gets it, man. KSW's doing the thing, and they're staying in their lane. And they're not trying to expand, they're not trying to do too much, even though it could be easy for them to do this. Just look at the buzz they're getting this weekend. They're getting more buzz this weekend for Eddie Hall versus Pudzianowski than anything on the UFC card on Saturday. And the UFC card's pretty good with a great main event. But they're just doing the thing, and I respect the hell out of it.
Lewandowski's been low-key like the best promoter in MMA for years. There's a reason KSW is on their 100th event. And these are not, and I mean, I absolutely zero disrespect to Cage Warriors or anything like that, which are also supremely well-run organizations. KSW is selling out stadiums when they put on shows. Like, they are doing big events, big local events, but big events. And they've been doing it for a very long time because Martin Lewandowski is very good at his job. He's good at, honestly, he's surprisingly good at keeping talent. The fact that Saladin Parnasse is still there, I almost drafted him yesterday. The fact that he's like still there is pretty freaking wild, like, honestly. And just understanding where their lane is, they're exceptional at it. And mostly he's great because I don't know if I was the first, but I was one of the loudest people as soon as the Eddie Hall 2-on-1 fight happened, that this must occur. And that it was my most anticipated fight that could be made. And he delivered it. And so I will have unending love for him because easily the thing I'm looking forward to the most on Saturday is not the very good UFC Kansas City card. It's the absolute nonsense of Mariusz Pudzianowski and Eddie Hall fist fighting.
Yeah. And you know what, Jed? He's one of us because I asked him how long it's been taking him to put this fight together. This isn't something that came together willy-nilly. He said it's been a year. Working on this for a year. So he knew it. The timing was perfect. As soon as that fight was over, he started getting Eddie Hall versus Puig put together.
Start making a call. Hey,
Mariusz,
I know you're down.
He wanted a KSW 100. That was the plan. In an ideal world, it would have happened at 100.
He's so good at his job. That would have been perfect.
Eddie was too busy. So we got it done here. So yeah, we're going to have 4-minute rounds, 2 4-minute rounds.
And we're having 1 2-minute fight is what we're having. This fight's going to be over quick.
And if it gets to round 2, 90-second break before round 2 instead of a 60. The man just gets it.
I think
totally understands it.
Yeah, because like, oh my, that's so smart, dude. PFL, take a lesson. Like, I know that like you don't have to just do stuff because like that's the norm. Just be like, oh, I'm just gonna have some fun. Like, oh, let's give them an extra 30 seconds. They're big boys. The fight will be better if we go to round 2 for them to get a little extra recovery. Let's just do it. Like, you just do anything you want. There's a liberation in just being like, F it, that PFL really needs to adopt.
Yep. They're so good. I love this so
Man,
much. And the main event friggin'
KSW
slapped.
has low-key been like the best promotion forever.
Yeah.
All
so
their
good.
events are fun as hell because they're in a sold-out stadium with like pyro and shit.
Yeah, KSW's always been like the European Ryzen for me. I honestly I love KSW. They're just as,
They're the
I feel like
actual spiritual successor to Pride.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Do not. Yeah. Oh, is there? How do you watch it over here? Is it just a
You have
YouTube
to
thing?
you have to pay-per-view it.
KSWTV.com.
Pay per view. Okay, so it's just kind of hard to watch.
They're usually fairly
It's
cheap.
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it. Their cards are always fun too.
Yeah.
Dungeons are fun. It's not even, and the wonder they're in that sweet spot where they're KSW. So like, not that I would do this, obviously. You like really can't even find that many like illegal streams of it because it's not the UFC. So you just like kind of have to buy the pay-per-views if you're gonna watch it.
Yeah. We should do a watch party for that fight. Just for that fight.
Great. Be great. I'm live blogging it. Can't wait. Cannot wait.
Wade, thank you. If Long Island Luke bet the house on a fight and lost, how long would you let him crash at your place? And what's the highest you've all bet on a fight? Keep up the great content. So, first question, Jed, that was specifically for you. How long would you let Long Island Luke crash at your place if he went all in on a bet and lost?
I mean, like a week or two. My place isn't that big, and I like my space, and it would be very stupid of him to do that. And he's got other friends, so he doesn't just have to use me. But like, I want to support people as well. I wouldn't kick him to the curb if he had nowhere else to go. But we'd need to set some boundaries there for sure. So be like, hey, stay as long as you need to. Be like, hey, let's talk about how long you're going to stay because this is not a large place.
2-3 days tops. That's how it should be. What's the highest you bet on a fight, Jed? Mine, I don't have an exciting story because my bets are very low.
I won't share the number. You all know the most I've bet on a fight. You've probably seen the clip of me losing that amount of money when Alexa Grasso choked out Valentina Shevchenko. Needless to say, it was not great for me financially. It wasn't catastrophic because you never bet money you can't afford to lose, but that was a long built bankroll that went down the drain in one night.
Would that have been a climb bet? Shevchenko winning?
Oh, 100%. That would have been a climb bet. And that's why the climb can't succeed. Like 1,000,000,000%, that would have been like a climb bet if I was just doing it at the time. And then, frankly, that would have been better because I would have lost the climb bankroll as opposed to my actual bankroll, which was obviously worse for me. But, you live, you learn. We all make mistakes.
We don't have to reveal this, but is there a climb bet on UFC KC Saturday?
There sure is a climb bet on UFC KC this Saturday. We're back going for step 16. There's no bets bar, but we'll just tell you because it's easy. But go listen to No Bets Bar if you haven't. The co-main event, we decided, and by we, as if there's some sort of like group, it's me. I decided, the royal we, that while betting on Zhang Mingyang makes a lot of sense, I am a little bit afraid of like maybe Anthony Smith in his last career fight just like summons the will of the gods to go out on a W. And it's not like Zhang Mingyang is like this unstoppable dude. Like he's really fun, but he is very raw in some ways. So instead I decided that fight doesn't go to decision because either Zhang is going to kill Anthony Smith or Anthony Smith is going to tackle him and tap him. I think that those are the two outcomes. And it was conveniently right on -500 when I got it. I have no idea what it's like now. So co-main event doesn't go to a decision. So then I'm like getting 90% of the just betting against Anthony Smith to get clobbered in his retirement, but also hedging my bets in case he is the chosen one and gets to have a fun, end to his career, which frankly, I hope It would be cool for him to get that moment.
Yeah, but Zhang's on my fantasy team.
I don't think he's gonna get it. By the way, but Zhang's gone to a decision once in his past 25
that's a great bet. That's a great
something.
bet, by the way.
He comes out to kill or kill. He's gonna kill Anthony Smith or maybe get tackled and tapped. I think that's the only outcome here.
All right. Cool. Thank you much. A couple more super chats.
Plus, I don't have to root against Anthony Smith either. I just have to root for a finish. I don't want to root against Anthony Smith in his retirement. That feels like bad juju.
Scritch and Anthony Smith should go in for almost taking the belt off Jones, Jed.
No, he shouldn't. He should be shamed forever. Shamed forever. He should have taken that belt and run with it. That would have been, look, the Bushido code and the respect of fans for not taking that exit. They don't pay your damn bills. He could forever be a UFC champion. I will maintain till the end of my days that Anthony Smith should have said, can't go, and seen if he got a DQW.
He would have been champion, and he would have got pay-per-view points in a ginormous rematch against John Jones, where John Jones would have been the biggest babyface in UFC history.
He could have been the greatest heel of all time. This is had Chael made it to the end of that round, and John obviously can't fight, and Chael gets a TKO win because John's toe is off of his foot. Had he just survived the extra 70 seconds or whatever it was, you will never convince me that Chael wouldn't have taken that belt and gone to the presser in the back and been like, told you, beat him. Greatest of all time, my ass. I'm the greatest of all time. And then spent 6 months not fighting John. Just playing the string out as the greatest heel of all time. Anthony Smith could have done that, and he passed on it for integrity. Pshaw.
Chael would have ran with that.
Chael would have been the greatest heel in the history of the sport. Oh no, why would I fight John again? I already beat him. I already beat John Jones.
I beat him in 5 minutes.
I beat him in 5 minutes. I beat John Jones. I can see it now.
He would have a shirt. T-shirt. He would just constantly walk around in that shirt.
He would have danced in the cage. The interview with Joe Rogan would have been friggin' amazing. I beat him in the first round. I told you I was going to beat him in the first round, and I did. I'm the champ.
His body physically couldn't withstand me. His body broke when he came into contact with me.
Literally broke.
Would have been the greatest heel of all time, and Anthony Smith could have been that. He could have taken that and run with it. And instead, good for him and his integrity, but look at him. He's not UFC champion. We don't get to call him champ all the time.
Oh, man.
Thank you, Scritchin. One last super chat.
One and only with a great comment here, Casey. You got to put that up before we do the super chat. The most recent comment here. Because it's just A+ work.
We get back to it. John Broken Bones Jones.
That's right.
Oh my God.
100% what Chael would have been like. Oh, you mean John Broken Bones Jones? Nope. That would have been elite.
Yep. Oh my God. Terrific.
We missed out by 70 seconds from one of the funniest outcomes of all time. That happened twice with Chael. Because if Chael had beaten Anderson and then gotten stripped because he popped for 6 steroids, that would have also been deeply funny. And we missed both of those.
All right. Super chat. No, then what about Chael?
Any chance Chael leaked preliminary inside info on the John Tom fight and was told by his bosses to squash that with the Tom Cyril thing? I'm going to say no, because that is an ESPN show. I'm sure ESPN is not just hey guys, just talk about whatever you want. Just go. ESPN isn't doing what we're doing right now, where it's just answering questions, any question that you guys ask us. That ain't happening. There is a layout of the show, I'm sure. I don't know if there's a script or anything, but there is 100% a layout of the program. And there's just no world where ESPN did not know that was not going to be brought up. And even if they didn't, it wasn't a live show. They still aired it on their platform. So I'm going to say no to that. Yeah, I don't think that's true.
I don't know what the incentive would be to say no to it unless they were going to announce it in some grand fashion. But like, that even doesn't seem like that would matter to them to be like, hey, back off of this. Like, it just doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't know.
And it's Chael saying it. It's not like DC was saying it. Chael is saying it. And most people know Chael says things all the time. And Chael is the one man who can get everything wrong and nobody will care. Like, he is in that position. But yeah, that's what I think. ESPN, if they saw this, I don't think anyone skimmed by and was like, yeah, this is fine. You know? So.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So there you go.
Thank you, Super Samoan legal team. One last super chat just came in.
Wonderboy Studio Desk debut this weekend. Good fit. This is his first time doing the desk? Really?
That's what people are saying.
I thought he's been up there before.
I have no idea.
Either way, I think I agree with
maybe.
Judge Ches. They need. What do you say? 2 years, you're out. What's your time
Oh,
frame?
3. I think 3.
3.
Maybe you could talk me into 5. 3 is mainly just there's no shortage of people. Like, they have a near limitless number of fighters of renown to just cycle in and be like, hey, let's give this new guy a chance. You know, like, 3 to 5, I think's fine.
I agree. Wonder Boy's great. He should be up there. By the way, maybe this is his ESPN Studio Desk debut, because remember the infamous moment when Tyron Woodley became the welterweight champion.
I'll say he definitely
Stephen Thompson was on the desk and said, all right,
100%.
man, we're going to go fight now because I'm the number one guy.
That was so awkward.
And then Tyron cut the worst promo of a new champion in history. Yeah, Wonder Boy, I like you very much, but I want the toughest fights with Nick Diaz and George St. Pierre, which we knew what he was trying to do. And you could visibly see Wonder Boy being like, what are you talking about? Like, I just beat the hell out of Johnny Hendricks and finished him in like 70 seconds in a main event. And you're not going to give me the title shot, even though it took you forever to get your own title shot. You're going back on all of this. Yeah. He was definitely on the desk for that one. Because I remember
100%.
that moment.
It was this event right here.
Yeah.
This event right here. I was with Errol Helwani as like backstage talking, and the whole thing was nuts.
Yep. So yeah.
I just want to address this so both of you can confirm, because I don't mean this to be mean to the It Factor. I just need him to understand that we're not lying or being stupid. Chael would have won by TKO doctor stoppage because that's how fighting works.
Yeah, it's pretty clear because it wasn't an accidental whatever, like a headbutt or something like that. Yeah, it was an injury.
Right. And that's why in 70 seconds, if it had gone to the next round and they went to the corner and John would have been visibly in pain, and there probably would have been monitors showing up on the screen a man whose toe is falling off of his goddamn foot, the fight would have been stopped immediately. A doctor would have come in and stopped the fight immediately.
You cannot fight, and because that injury wasn't caused by an illegal maneuver, to the best of our knowledge, that is just a doctor stoppage, which is default a TKO victory for the opponent. I mean this kindly. I'm not trying to dunk on you, but I want you to know that the comments that are all telling you you're wrong, they're correct.
Yeah. It's a doctor stoppage TKO. That's what it would have happened.
Yeah. But going to the Anthony Smith one, the knee, would that
might not have. That would have been a judgment call on the referee.
It could have been a DQ, or they could have gone to the judges' cards, or gone to the cards, because it happened so late in the fight.
Because it was in like the 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So then at that point, if he didn't rule it a DQ, it would have gone to a tech decision. If he didn't rule it a DQ, that would have been.
Yeah, but
that would have been on to the thing.
That's an if too.
Yeah, I think it probably would have been a DQ though. In that situation,
so that was the consideration
because situation.
Because he took a point too.
Yeah.
didn't he?
Oh, he
If-
took,
if
he
I
took the
remember.
point. He
And
did
so,
take the
like,
point. That's
yeah,
why it would have
That's
been
supposed
DQ.
to be a
That's right.
DQ if you take the point, like fundamentally.
That
But
was why.
also,
That was,
sometimes refs make up their own rules to get what they feel is right. So that might not have worked out for him, but it could have tried, and he would have had a better chance of winning than continuing to fight.
That's true.
We have lots of questions, but we've already gone an hour 15, so I think we'll have to call it a day.
Ask questions tomorrow.
There
We're doing a
one-
preview show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do a preview.
The fact that they
especially
wouldn't
for
overturn it.
Yes. Okay. Well, hit the music. We're done. Thank you all very much. Much appreciated. We will preview UFC Kansas City tomorrow. We might even make this a KSW preview show as well. Why the hell not? Because the best fight of the weekend is happening on KSW 105. Just stick with us. We
gonna
get
be
you
so
covered on
silly.
all things MMA this
It's
weekend.
so
I cannot
silly.
wait. I cannot wait. And then, UFC will be in Des Moines next weekend. All sorts of funny and silliness going down. For Casey, for Jed, I am Mike Heck, back next week with a fresh matchup right here on BTL. The iconic voice of Esterlin takes you home. Good night, everybody. Love you all.
Been Between the Links, an MMA fighting production on the Vox Media Network.